offer an example of how sometimes when we practice asana, it's not enough to just make a shape or to make the shape of the pose that we perceive to be the point of the pose. Sometimes what happens when we practice asana is that we will do the pose from the flexibility that we already have. So we'll simply just bend where we bend easily. And when that happens, what we actually miss out on is creating a deep opening and a deep stretch where we need it the most. And so I'm going to demonstrate this in a triangle pose. And let's say that I'm a person who has really tight, limited hamstrings and groins. So, you know, I have a tight lower body, my legs really need to be stretched. So let's say I go to a yoga class and they do a triangle pose. And so I open up my legs and I follow the basic instruction, and then, you know, remember my hamstrings and groins are really tight, so this is already hard for me. And then I see triangle pose, I see everyone doing it, and I listen to the teacher, and I'm supposed to lean over that way and put my hands on my shin, so I just go ahead and lean over. And so here I am, and actually what's going on here is I'm just bending at my waist. And this actually isn't a bad thing. I'm getting a stretch over here, and it's okay, and it's not bad, and I might feel better afterwards. Another way to look at triangle pose is to see one of the physiological essences of the pose is actually to find a movement and a freedom in the pelvis relative to the femurs. So in the first way that I did it, my pelvis stayed absolutely stationary because one of my challenges is that it tends to be stuck. And then I got myself in the position of the pose just by bending at my waist where I'm able to move. And now the yoga for structural balance way, and you'll also find this way, really the way in Iyengar yoga classes, for example. They're really big on making sure that you don't just bend where you easily bend. And so that's what we're doing here as well. So now I'm going to say, even though it's hard for me, even though it's not easy for me, I'm actually going to challenge myself to start to feel how can my pelvis move and tilt over my femurs. And I may be kind of limited and there may not be much movement there, but that's where I'm going to focus my attention. And in order to really get that movement, I might have to stabilize myself where I'm already pretty loose. So I'll stabilize where I like to bend, where I'm already bendy, and that will allow me maybe to find more movement of the pelvis over the femurs. And if I find that a little bit, that is going to give me a huge zing of sensation where I'm so tight and limited. And reaching that place, accessing that tissue where I'm so tight and limited is actually what's going to ultimately bring my body to balance, because I'm going to open up those stuck places. So that's just one example of the many ways that this can manifest in yoga practice. And so the opportunity here is to learn the techniques to actually contact and confront where we're most restricted and work on that.